All right. And we are live. How's it going, home theater fans? My name is Todd with AV Nirvana, and with me today is Mr. Brett Bjorkquist, head FAQNatic. Brett, this is kind of spur of the moment, but I'm really psyched to have you on to talk about some pretty awesome stuff that's
Oh,
here.
thank you, Todd. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, it was kind of spur of the moment, but it was like, hey, let's get a little live on here. Let's get some people engaged.
Yeah,
Make sure
100%.
that they understand exactly how this contest and event and all these things work, and so yeah, so this is a perfect opportunity, and so I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, before we dive into the contest itself, let's talk a little bit about FAQNatics because this is something you launched. I want to say it was almost a year ago. Is that
So,
right, or is it at
well,
the end of last year?
yes. So there were two pieces in it, I guess. So, like most of us, starting kind of side hustle or new projects, right?
Yep.
Last year I decided I really wanted to do this. And again, it comes right after CEDIA, people asking questions. And so I said, let's do this. I'm going to kick off this channel. I got all my names and all my all the channel creation, and then I was good enough because it was right after CEDIA, or shortly after. I think it was November-ish actually. And said, hey, you know what? I'm going to pull all of my favorite content creators and influencers together. And everybody was cool enough to do it. And I always just like this event we'll talk coming up, I like to call it like it's an Avengers Assemble moment, right? It's like everybody, has had one or two people on their shows. I know I've actually introduced a fair amount of you guys together in different situations.
Yep.
And so people have been on there, but never have, like last year, like we had 9 people, I think 9 people on there, and each one had their own channel, and came on. And so it was really, really fun from that perspective.
Yeah.
And that was in November. And then I didn't post another piece of content till April.
I know how that goes.
Yeah. I got a little tied up with, the day-to-day work kind of stuff and this and that, and building out an LMS that, that I've been working on. And so, yeah, maybe I posted one thing, but really nothing. And then, I kind of came back as it got into April, and April is really, so, while I absolutely give credit, like it's a year ago and we can say that, the reality is, pretty much everything started in April. So if you really look around 4 months ago, I actually, it was funny because I put in, that time in between, was me working on some stuff with clients. And so a lot of what I would do and still do is, FAQNatics is kind of the consumer side. Market Maker is my business side. And if you think about it, that's where I work with manufacturers, so consumer electronic manufacturers, and integrators. So kind of the business side of tech, right?
Right.
And so so I was doing these webinars with Anthony Gramani that were like, you pretty much needed to be an integrator to get on there. If you had the link, hey, nobody said anything, because I know there were a few consumer fans in there. But basically it was designed for integrators, and we had a couple, there were 3 or 4 of them on there. And so what I did is I'm like, this is great content though, and it's a little different than, we've all seen Anthony in various channels and we all watch it, but sometimes it's the same slides, and sometimes, they're going on, they're trying to explain kind of the same things to different audiences.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our audiences all overlap because we all like pull content from everybody, right? And so, this one was a little bit different. It was a little bit longer. It was more than 2.5 hours. It was too long for consumer. Although this group will do it. I've been on 2-3 hour podcasts, but but so I trimmed it down, and I you can go a little technical sometimes. So I, did some pop-ups that kind of explain certain things or inserted some graphics. And so I spent a little bit more time kind of honing it down, still an hour. But actually it's an hour and a half. I'm looking at it right now. So, still an hour and a half, but chopped an hour out of it, cleaned it up, put it up, and right now it's sitting at 16,000 views.
Wow.
And I think it had like 12, 13, 14,000 in a month. It was, yeah, it's Anthony Gramani, but then it's also how we hone it down and make it a little bit more accessible. And so that one was great. So then I took one where we did last year's CEDIA booth, created one on designing a CEDIA theater. And we actually shared some of the drawings and information on how to build that, right? So that's cool.
Right.
So, like, that room isn't that big. That room is actually a reasonable consumer size room when you get in there. It's just got crazy amounts of product in there. But people are always asking, like, well, where do I put my acoustic panels? Where do I do this and that? And
sure. Yeah.
It's not one for one. Everybody's room's a little different, but we were showing placement, and so those that instruction is all on there, and that one's dead on basically an hour. Same thing. It was over 2, knocked it down to an hour. Tried to make it just a little bit easier for the consumer side. And then we did one more on networked audio. So audio over IP, AES 67, Dante, things like that.
The hot topic right now.
It's a little bit of a newer topic, right? So it doesn't catch as many views. You can see base management blows up in comparison to networked audio.
Yeah.
But that just means that there's opportunity, right?
Yeah.
It means 2 things. One, I need to make more base management, videos, which I plan to do. 2, it means we need to talk more about networked audio so that people understand really kind of how it works, right?
Sure.
And so, but yeah, and then I also make lighting introductions because home theater is great. We all love it. But it's also a very niche area, right? Whereas lighting in people's homes, I mean, everybody has to deal with that.
Sure.
Shades, all that kind of stuff. So what I also want to do, it's FAQNatics, because we're answering the frequently asked questions in technology, is obviously have a core in theater because that's what I love and have been doing for so long. But I also do lighting, and I also do shades, and I also do all those other kinds of things. So as I'm working on projects in my new place, the idea is that I'm trying to document it, as much of it as I can, explain my purchasing decisions. And generally, as I create kind of these groups or series of kind of, series on lighting, series on shades, is to ultimately be able to kind of have like a best, better, good, where you can decide, right? So I'm going to tell you why you might want the best, and I'm going to tell you why you might want the better, and why the good would be good enough, in a lot of these scenarios.
That's in terms of price categories.
Yeah, generally speaking, right? It could be feature sets, but that usually relates to price. So
it sure does.
We can most easily tie it to price, right? And so, but so the idea is, hey, if I'm just getting started and I've got a lower budget for this, then here's the best products that are going to work, and here's what you should expect from whatever manufacturer you choose. And then objectively, not sponsored to one, not a sponsored video from Lutron about how to do shades. I want it to be, a little bit more agnostic, but at the same time, the next question people have is, well, what brands do I need to buy? So then I want to be able to kind of objectively say, not just one brand. It's not just here's Lutron. It's going to be here's Lutron, maybe here's SI, here's somebody else, or ProLux for lighting, or which is what I use in most of my house. So I want to be able to offer people not just the best, because I see the forums and I read, and so often people are like, well, yeah, it's an amazing theater and amazing this and that, but it's $250,000.
Right.
Or it's $1 million. What does that mean to me? In my first time, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 system. And the reality is you can get great systems in all those price ranges, depending on your room size, depending on everything else, right? So what's going on, Kevin?
Yeah, man. I think it's great you're doing it. I mean, it's partly cool because you're an industry professional that's kind of branching out to the consumer, but also because they're getting to see a side of you that we've seen on kind of the backside of things.
Sure.
You have this infectious personality. You and I first met when you were working with Kaleidoscape.
Yep.
And I still remember the first conversation we had because I was excited about getting the product in my hands.
Sure.
But after talking to you, it was like, I'm at the front door, like, where is this thing? Come on, let's go. So, I think everybody's better for it having you being even more visible than you were before. So,
Well, I appreciate that,
yeah.
and my main thing into launching Market Maker and FAQNatics was similar to that. For the last 25 years, I've been in this industry, and I got started working at Good Guys, which was a West Coast regional kind of retailer. So
Hmm.
I was programming systems all the way back to the Mitsubishi Diamond rear projection TVs and um, Philips Prontos and and Niles audio distribution and back when video distribution was composite.
Right.
My first
Right.
system, I feel like I've spent way too much money trying to make sure that I was well versed on everything because I have bought composite video distribution.
Oh,
Luckily, I was able to skip over the S video. Then I bought component video distribution and then HDMI video distribution. And now I'm like, screw that, put an Apple TV in every bedroom.
oh, sure. Right. Exactly. Yep.
An Apple TV and let's say a Kaleidoscape is all I need, right?
Yeah.
That covers all my bases.
That's exactly where I am right now.
I,
Kaleidoscope and Apple TV.
Video distribution has its point for certain things, but it
Mhm.
adds so much complexity with handshakes and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
where I can turn on Netflix. If I'm streaming, that's usually an Apple TV. I do like to use an Apple TV versus the TV apps. It just seems to go a little bit faster, fewer issues in there.
Mhm.
And you don't risk eARC, kind of
Yeah.
issues coming up in there, right?
Yeah.
And so but yeah, I'm like, well, I can literally be downstairs in the family room on Netflix watching whatever show I want to, hit pause, go up to my bedroom,
Yeah.
go into Netflix, and it's right in the same spot. That's what I used to have to do video distribution for. But
Mhm.
instead of a $4,000 box, I buy another $200 Apple TV, which also does my Spotify, which also does my, everything else. I just, like I said, there's still room for it in certain areas or
Mhm.
for different reasons. But I gotta say, I like being able to do that. And even right now,
Yeah.
like in one of my rooms that we haven't really finished, I am just using the apps on the TV and they're not that bad. I mean, it just
It,
creates some additional headaches when you're trying to pull audio out of that into a system or
right.
things like that.
The Apple TV experience is, I think, second to none, at
Yeah.
least for me. I've had Roku and Roku HD, and
Yep.
for me, Apple TV is just kind of that next level experience. But I'm an Apple
Sure.
user all the way
You're in
around.
the ecosystem, right? So
But I just love, one of the things I really love is when I'm watching a show and that this little bubble pops up and it says like Baltimore Orioles, bottom of the seventh, bases loaded, click here to go to the game. I'm like, I'm in. I forgot the game was on or whatever. So little things, little reminders about.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I agree. Like I said, I play with all of them in my last place. And I'll have it when I rebuild mine. But I used to have each of the sources all mounted next to each other in my rack. So I kind of I had it done kind of cool. And
mhm.
but yeah, so I had them all on there. And I test them all because if somebody had a question or we were doing something else, then
Yeah.
I'd make sure how does this work. But when it came to personal, I even had my my Nvidia, my Shield Pro and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, um, if it was personal use, it was generally always my Apple TV,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go. Apple send the check over because
I know. Come on, baby.
that's right. That's right. We that is not a sponsored portion of this video.
So
But yeah, no, I think it's boiling it down to simplicity, especially for 90% of the people.
Yeah.
Right. I always say, as I'm trying to design this stuff, it's not necessarily, it is for me and you, but we're the ones who would probably geek out and play around with the stuff. And I got to hit 5 buttons on 3 different remotes. Yeah, okay, I can handle that because I want this experience or I'm doing this or that. What it's really designed for is to make it so simple anybody should be able to pick up a remote or walk into a room or do whatever and use that system, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to be there. And so whether it's my wife, my daughter, they have friends coming over, my in-laws, my whoever it is that's here, I want them to be able to to run the household, be able to understand the light switches and how those work and all that kind of stuff. Because that's really how it should be built, not overly complex, simple enough for anybody to walk in and use, but powerful enough to do what you want it to do.
Yeah,
So.
probably a conversation for another day, but
Yeah.
I believe the industry is particularly the AV industry. The manufacturers try so hard uh, to separate themselves from a sales perspective with all these different names for technologies.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
would be so much better off if they all work together for one unified platform.
Sure.
I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be so much easier just from the end user experience all the way to the purchasing experience.
Yeah.
So
I agree, or at least some more similar standards, right?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
what's up, Joe? I
How's
do
it
have a
going, Joe?
plan. There's a so I think there's a few that's a layered question from Joe. So Joe's actually over at my place yesterday because
Oh,
he lives
cool.
right over by me. So
Oh, cool.
always a friend. But yes, so a few months back, Chris Deering went out to Joe's place and did a calibration, and
Mhm.
they were both nice enough to let me kind of tag along and take some video.
Oh, sweet. Oh,
so yeah, you got it. so on one hand,
very smart, Joe. That's
exactly. Like I said, that's layered. He's like, hey, let's learn about video calibration. Oh, by the way, here's my home theater. Yes, that will come out. He knows I'm busy, so but he likes to
yeah.
ask me about that every once in a while. It will come out. I'm also big with you guys, and again, topics for a different time, I think, Todd. But I want to build out some true step-by-step tutorials for REW. I still think
Yeah.
that it's one of the biggest things out there, and I haven't used it as much because usually, like when I've gone out and done things, that wasn't my area of it,
Yeah.
right? Let me get your Kaleidoscape. I can get the main system running. And then you call in an Anthony Gramani or a Keith Yates or a Matt Pose or any of these guys that I know that would end up doing a calibration like that, and the video side, the Chris Deerings and the rest.
Right.
And so I reached out to you guys. I mean, you guys are the official kind of
Official
support
forum.
group for it,
Yep.
right? And so there's a lot of good stuff that's on there, and you guys do a great job of answering questions in the forums as things are coming up and discussing it. But I haven't quite seen like the tutorial that like walks you step by step. What does this do? What does that do? And a lot of like when I build this stuff, especially for manufacturers, I use software that allows me to actually pull in, be it my laptop, be it even an interface. So like Kaleidoscape, like what you see on the screen, I can basically pull that in. And then I would show people like, click here. Then you're going to click here. And so I really want to be able to create, because it is a complex, it is a complex kind of system. And so, I want to make sure that people can kind of walk through that in the type of tutorials that I do, which are kind of the more in depth and not just the overviews. So, free access to you and your viewers for that, Todd, whenever I create it. It'll be a
Awesome.
little while. But just like Joe said for that one, I want to be able to jump into that stuff because, calibration is one of those, for a lot of people, kind of a gray area. But then same as Kaleidoscape, like the people who get it done just sit there and rave about it, right? In the forums.
Yep.
But then nobody quite understands what's going on, right? Or what's the payment or what's required, or can I do that with a $20 disc? And it's like, well, no, that's a little different than, these guys are walking in with $20,000-$30,000 plus worth of equipment.
Exactly.
So, but people walk away happy, as I know Joe did. So,
that's
so,
awesome.
So like I said, so that's some new content in there that we'll be creating. But yeah, so lots of cool stuff in there. But right now we've got a really cool setup.
That's right. That's right. And by the way, before you start in on this, FAQNatics, it's a YouTube channel.
Yep.
If you're watching this, go check it out. That's what Brett's been talking about. He has lots of new videos on there since his launch last year. So
yeah,
that's where we're going to tie this into your next FAQNatics announcement. And this has to do with CEDIA. So
absolutely.
First off, how do you describe CEDIA? Because I call it the like Disneyland of home theater.
Yeah,
At least here in the US.
I've used that phrase before. I think we all like, it's the playland for, now Now, usually I'm there with the manufacturer, and it's not Playland. It's
I know. Yeah,
you
it's
know, it's
work.
yeah, it's yeah. There's a lot more negative connotivity I can give to that in terms of doing the 14, 16-hour days. I made a crack. We did a video last year, and I actually just pushed a video out, but I edited some of it. But the video was 30 hours, and Gramani comes on and kicks it off saying, so basically we have 30 hours to build this booth. And then in one of mine, I put some pop-up, comments on there, and I'm like, 30 hours. I'm like, are those the HR approved hours that get documented? Like, I remember being there till 3 a.m. the morning of the show, finishing doing a booth wrap, going to bed, and then, taking basically a nap at that point, and then being back on the show floor at 8 a.m.
Wow.
And I remember Gramani leaving the show floor at 7 a.m. and not even being there for the opening because he needed to catch up on some rest before he had to come back. So it's a blast. Yeah, I look at it as adult Disneyland, Disneyland for the AV enthusiast. It's different than CES, which would be the only bigger show, right?
Way different.
But yeah, that one's like, you still have the cool TVs, you still have the cool speakers, you still have the audio section at places like CES, but you also have like foot massagers and and toasters and anything that basically has some technology in it. And CEDIA is really dedicated. There's, I think, about 300 manufacturers that have a booth there or something of some sort. Most are, let's say, mid to high end. You'll see now. Granted, there's some new TVs, the TCLs, and all those guys.
Yeah,
and they'll come out there because they're trying to really heavily penetrate that lower market, right? But but for the most part, it's it's the guys that we all talk about, and it's so you run from the from the Onkyos and the Denons and the mid-level, let's call it, because it's all good quality, but the lower price stuff, if you're pricing it, all the way up to Trenov and Storm, and speaker wise from your general Klipsch and Kefs and things like that, and then all the way up to the Magicos and the Bowers and Wilkins and the all the high end,
the Ascendos.
And so it's just a blast of a place to be able to go. I've been there probably 20 times in my 25 years. I haven't missed too many. Occasionally something happens or they're doing something. I mean, I was there the year after COVID started. Even it was a lot slower, but I was still
pretty
there.
Quiet. Yeah.
But it was actually kind of cool in a different way because I love the the hustle of all the people coming in and trying to make sure everybody gets their questions answered. But that year, you could actually have some good conversations with people, and really try to understand what they were looking for, because you didn't have 5 people behind them kind of waiting to ask their stuff. So I enjoyed it from that, but yeah, it was definitely a little slower. And
just from a visual perspective, just for people that are watching, it's basically, I would say, several football fields, essentially, right? That convention center inside, and it is packed with these immaculate demo spaces and product demo spaces. It's not just sparsely, this 300 sounds like a lot, but that also could be interpreted to be a very small
amount. Sure.
Small amount. It is loaded with all of the tech that you want to see, all the accessories, all of the tech. And then you add in, I think this year there will be about 20,000 people, AV professionals.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty strong this year.
Right. AV professionals, though, because that's key, right?
Yeah.
Because your normal enthusiast can't gain access to this.
No. So, it is considered to be a professional show. The manufacturers are going in there and, spending a good amount of money to be able to talk with the AV integrators and convince them that, their brands are something that integrator should carry. Right. And so, not that people would really not that there would be a huge issue with having people in there, but it creates confusion as to who's doing what, right?
Exactly.
And so, in all reality, to be fair, because I've been on that manufacturer side and the rest, this is where they're trying to close their business so that these great brands can, stay alive and
Sure.
continue to thrive. And so it's
Yep.
difficult if us as enthusiasts then want to talk for an hour about something.
Right.
Then that pulls the people away, or it's difficult to figure out who's who, or again, now people are being effectively looked at and going, oh well, no, you've got a consumer badge, so I don't want to talk to you. And and then
For
again,
sure.
feelings get hurt, and it's not a great experience.
Right. And these brands are crazy busy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are booked with meetings, with folks like myself, but primarily integrators who are there, and they're trying to sell them on why you should use their product
Yeah,
on the job site.
and they want to
So,
get a chance, I mean, same as consumers, integrators, don't have the fun. I mean, most integrators are mom and pop shops, or, they one or two little local shops, kind of things that they've expanded. So they don't get to hear all those different speakers too. So the same issues that we have,
mhm.
make it, with not being able to hear a speaker, right? Or, well, where can I go see this, or where it's the same thing for integrators. And so CEDIA
Yep.
becomes kind of that one-stop shop for being able to kind of hear, even though it's not always the best place, because especially for the guys that are in booths and not demo rooms, you can imagine these, very expensive speakers that are playing in an area that's about 80 dB plus
Right.
with just background noise, right? That's your floor noise, taking it
Right.
from a home theater side. And now you're trying to listen to stuff with 30 other people crowded around you trying to listen to the same thing. It's
Mhm.
not prime, but it at least is an experience. It's a chance to kind of touch and feel and see exactly how it works. And so that's the importance of it. And that's why it's generally kind of fit to just just the integrator. And then consumers have shows like M-Wave now, and and other things that
Mhm.
are out there.
Yeah.
I will say, Todd, and we're going to talk about a much bigger method of that, but just so people know and your listeners know, if you happen to live in the Colorado area, or we're going to find your way out that way, I do have access to getting general passes. So like I said, not having to do with contests or anything like that.
Sure.
But if people want to go, I've done that for years and people like it. That's actually what kind of started some of this next stuff. But if somebody really does want to go, like I said, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to care that you're a consumer. They'll do this and that. I'll give you a badge that has my company name on it, and it is a great place to be able to go and check stuff out. I've always
Yep.
offered that and had a few people take me up on it. So
Yeah.
um,
You know, that's a funny comment. Yeah, yeah. And I encourage folks, if they're thinking about maybe taking you up on that, they really should, because you get to
it,
experience a lot of stuff that you just
yeah,
are not going to hear. I mean, like theory audio,
yeah,
pro audio technology. That was one of my favorite demos. I mean, and there were a lot of awesome demos, as you
sure,
know,
yep,
last year. But that getting to see the quantum media systems
hmm,
giant micro LED
yep.
panel. If you didn't see it last year, you got to get downstairs and see that this year. It will blow you away. It's worth making the effort to get in there and see what some of these truly exceptional companies are putting out there.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I'd been and seen the pro and theory demos,
Yeah.
last couple
Whew.
years, right? And
Oh,
it is
unbelievable.
so impressive. And so I ended up earlier this year buying a theory audio system.
Oh, you're
Um,
so lucky.
and the first Dante integrated one. So like I literally
Oh,
think I have one of the first one or two that rolled off the line.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm in the process of setting it up now. I'll finish setting it up as soon as I get out of CEDIA, because I've just been tied up in it.
Mhm.
But even not fully built, not fully calibrated, the thing sounds amazing. And so it really is. There's just so much cool technology, and so many brands that again are a little bit smaller.
Mhm.
But engineers like Paul Hayes, who have been in the industry forever,
Mhm.
who owns Pro Audio, and
Mhm.
they're about to celebrate their 20th anniversary this year,
20th.
because
Yeah.
Aaron, one of their people, emailed me
Aaron
on it, I think
Phillips.
yesterday
Yeah.
or the day before. Yeah. Yeah, there's just I try to find good people, like as I'm figuring out who I want to work with, and different things like that. I've been fortunate that I usually land in pretty good roles. People recruit me in because they've seen my previous stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then now same thing, like, there's some big brands, there's brands that could pay the bills. But I want to know brands that actually support their people. I was discussing this yesterday with Don Hensley. Do you know Don?
No.
Okay. So he started up a channel a little bit ago. So again, on the newer side of that, but I've known him in the forums for a couple years.
Okay.
And then he started an AV business a couple years ago. And so he had me on there yesterday. He heard about all this stuff. So he had me on, and yeah, we're just talking about all the different stuff that that you do in there, and trying to pick the right brands and this and that. And I was saying that I want to pick brands that support the community. And I
Mm-hmm.
was saying brands like Seymour Screens,
Yeah.
everybody, I'll watch in the forums, and Seymour gets a lot of praise in there too. But like somebody will say, well, what's the best screen? And somebody naturally said, oh, it's Stewart, right? And Stewart makes great stuff, but Stewart was the it brand 30 years ago and 40 years ago. And,
Mm-hmm.
then they get bought by a VC company. They get, and things change around. They still make great quality products. So this isn't
Yeah.
about a slam on them or,
No. Yeah.
but like Chris Seymour, I see him every week in the forums answering just people's questions. People that are never going to buy a Seymour screen, right? Or can't afford
Mm-hmm.
a level or this or that.
Just
And then,
educating.
yeah,
Yeah.
just educating and supporting. And then when events like M-Wave do come out, he's the one who had 5-6 screens. I know because I broke down half of them with him at the end with Evan. Somehow I always get roped into that stuff. But no, it's like that's the kind of stuff, because that's allowing the consumers that are at a show like that to be able to experience a 200-inch widescreen or
Yeah.
and guess what? Those other brands aren't there. I have no problem with them, and they're still great brands when people buy them. But like the SIs and the silver tickets and the and the Stewarts, they're not donating product that then might
Right.
get damaged or anything else, and then that's on Seymour's brand to pay for that kind of stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
nobody's buying those screens. Now, what some people will do is, if that screen fits their need,
Buy it on site.
People are wheeling and dealing at M-Wave and going,
I don't blame
I'll
him.
buy that, I'll buy that. So, but there again, he's providing an opportunity to, he doesn't have to travel it back at that point, but like
Mm-hmm.
people are getting discounts on brand new screens, right? That he had donated, effectively to the show otherwise. So, those are the brands that in my mind, I like to support. So,
Yeah.
they're in like Sound Room 4. We're in Sound Room 10 last year. And I had known of Chris and the brands for years.
Mm-hmm.
But last year was really the first year that I got to kind of work a lot with him,
Yeah.
as we were doing stuff with, or as I was doing stuff with Grimani.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, this year they wanted some help with, usually I'm just kind of helping set up and maybe creating some videos for him. And I'm like, yeah, these are the brands, Storm Audio and Seymour, and,
Yeah.
that, I'm like, sure, I'd be more than happy to be able to help out for a price. And that leads us into what we want to talk about here, Todd.
Yes, I know. We got Mike. How's it going, Mike?
What's going on, Mike?
Yeah, so Mike, you're just in time. We're going to talk about the contest, because like Brett was saying, if you can get out to Colorado,
yeah,
he can maybe work something out where he can get somebody in on a general pass. But the contest that he's offering is a whole lot more than that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Brett, let's run through that real quick. And
sure, absolutely. So the concept kind of bounces off of something that we tried to do last year and didn't quite work.
That's okay.
So we'll we'll run through that. But basically last year I wanted to bring in a few good friends like Todd into this booth to be able to experience something, right? And it was a little bit more off the cuff. I planned it a little early, but but we went in there, and unfortunately CEDIA security was having none of that.
Right. Yeah.
And
just be clear, it's because it was after show hours.
After hours.
The floor closes down at 5, and they really hustle people out of there.
Yeah,
because there are millions of dollars of product.
Yep. And that's what I say, right? So you've got like any place, you got a couple security guards guarding this, huge, like you said, multiple football fields worth of worth of equipment for millions of dollars, and they don't
Right.
want people just strolling around, right? And so we tried to get a few things done. They weren't really having it, and so I took everybody out to dinner instead, which was still a good time. And
We had a good time.
so we had some fun there, but I said, nope, this year we're going to figure it out. So I got CEDIA approval. That was a whole process in itself, because it's after hours, because I'm trying to get people in there. And so, but CEDIA approved it a couple, now, I guess maybe a month ago, but very recently approved the night. So then I started scrambling to figure out like confirmation on getting people out there. Todd will be one of those that are invited, so I look forward to seeing you out there as always, Todd.
I'll be there probably right around 5:15.
There you go.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yep. So, so the idea is, I've got 10 of the top content creators, out there, all the channels that we know and love, like AV Nirvana. But I've also got Youthman coming out, so Michael will be out there. Giles McCoy will be out there. I've got Matthew Pose, so again, spends a lot of time in the forums talking about acoustics and calibration and things like that. I've got DJ Briggs from Home Theater Podcast, Brightside Home Theater Podcast. I've got John Siaka, again, an industry favorite, friend of mine. I know he's a friend of yours as well.
Yep.
And so, like I said, so he'll be out there. Amanda Wildman just confirmed, so I haven't even put this down anywhere. You were the official first announcement of that.
Ding,
but
ding.
Amanda is actually one of the board members of CEDIA.
Oh, cool.
I've known her since I was at Harmony. She got me to do my first volunteer roles in CEDIA, and actually runs a business with her husband, Ponch. And so, so I mean, she's an AV enthusiast. She's an AV integrator. She does a lot to support the industry, and so I thought it would be kind of different than just the normal, podcaster and content creator. Just to get another opinion in there as well, like mine. And we've got Eric from AVS Forum will be in there as well. And I'm sure there's some other ones that I don't have written down, but that's about it. So
nice group.
Oh, and Jordan from Haterade.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's a tremendous group in there. So the initial idea was, hey, I'm, for helping to set up some stuff and do this and that. SR4, so Sound Room 4, which again is, so it's Seymour screens, it's Christie digital projection, and they'll have a Griffin in there. So I mean, it's going to be just 35,000 lumens. I mean, it's going to be nuts.
I'm going to put some sunscreen on.
And a Rec 2020 color space, so just tremendous in there.
It's going to be off the charts.
Not inexpensive, but tremendous. We'll have Storm Audio doing all the processing, some of the amplification, and then we will have Ashendo, and Ashendo will be in there with some new latest products. So they've got some new product announcements that it's always hard to keep track of what's gone where, so I won't say them all yet, but they've got some killer new product that's going to be out there. So I can't wait to be able to kind of play around with that and demo that.
Is that are they doing the Phantom voice speaker in there, or is that in Sound Room 3? Do you know?
No, that may be in Sound Room 3.
Okay.
So that's right next door to us, though. But yeah, they've got some really new cool technology that's going in there. They've got
I think the Black Swans are going to be in there.
Well, yes, Black Swans are definitely in there. So so we've got a front stage Black Swan, right? So full LCR in there for Black Swans, and then a mixture of everything else for rear side surrounds and rears and Atmos. We've got Lumagen in there, which I think is great. So they've always been kind of quiet and just kind of a grassroots product, but it's always been great. We did a lot with them at Kaleidoscape and the rest. And then obviously, Mad VR came in last year really, really strong. I always say they pulled the Kaleidoscape of like, hey, let's just get our product in everybody's booth, right?
And they're doing it again this year.
And they're doing it again this year. So, Lumagen kind of picked to have a partner, in their booth. And so they went into Sound Room 4. And I can't wait to see it, because I think this is going to be great, because you've got two products. Everybody's kind of, and it's a great product in there. I love Joey and Rick and them. But their thing was coming down from like 12 to, $5-6 grand.
Right.
But guess who's been there for years? Lumagen's always been in that price range as being a little bit more affordable. So, so they will be in there. and then Movia, which is a seating line out of Europe. And so they tend to be pretty popular out there. But this will actually be their first CEDIA. And so again, they tend to do some higher end chairs. But from what I've heard, super comfortable for those long watching sessions and everything else. So nothing but the best for you, Todd.
That's right. Well, I might just stay there all night.
That's right. Hey, I call it 3 hours because you can't say, hey, I'm pulling you in here for 6 hours. People may have things to do. But that doesn't mean that, I'm leaving.
in full honesty, last year was awesome, but the late nights with the early mornings are tough. So
they are.
You might see me step out around 8:30, 8 o'clock. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Not a problem. That's why I ended at 8. But like I said, if people are still hanging around, we'll watch some more stuff. But
is Kaleidoscape going to be the video side of things?
Yep. So Kaleidoscape will be handling the AV side of things. Okay. That allows me, and as you know, Todd, because we've been in there, one of the things I've been doing is saying, hey, usually you walk into these demos and it's like what the manufacturer selected, right? Right. The content that is going to make that video look inky black or the audio sound right.
Sure.
And so what I want to do is I basically told everybody that's going to be in there, like, tell me your favorite demo clips. What's your favorite movie? I'll get those downloaded onto the Kaleidoscape ahead of time. And then that way you can watch the stuff that you are, most interested in. So, right. Kevin, you were on the right track. So, like I said, this was the event that I was planning no matter what, right? Was, hey, let's bring in the content creators. It gives them an opportunity to give you guys as viewers, the opportunity to see things way more in depth, right? Not just the glossy overview of the outside, but actually let's talk technology for 3 hours. Let's, watch a ton of video clips. Let's, see all these things that we can do. And then it occurred to me, if I put all this stuff together, I'm always in the forums, and it happened this year the same way, because that's, I think, what made it click. I'm in the forums, and people around this time of year always say, God, I wish I could go to CEDIA. Someday I'm going to go to CEDIA, right? And like you said, it's like Disneyland. Why wouldn't you want to go and see all this stuff there? And so people keep asking that. And so I literally just kind of thought to myself, like, well, I've got this room for an evening. I've got CEDIA approval. I've got, great content creators that are all there. Let's just fly somebody out, and so that's what we're doing. I am actually, I will say, on my own dime, I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit, because
totally, you should.
This is not a big sponsored thing. I would love, in all reality, I think something like this could be sponsored to make it bigger without making it sponsored. It's they're just there to help support and pay to have somebody come out, right? It's just a contest.
Sure.
But for this year, as I was starting it out, it was last minute, because it was literally not even the beginning of this month, effectively that we said that. It was probably the first week of this month. And so I basically said, hey, we're going to send somebody out. I've got this amazing VIP experience. People want to go. I always offer, like I said, if you're in the area, but let's make this bigger. I'm going to actually fly someone out from anywhere in the US. I'm going to put you up in a hotel, same hotel as me. I'm not necessarily, this isn't an Oprah Winfrey, free trip. So you're probably not going first class. If I can get you an economy plus, we'll do that. But you're flying the same way as me. I'm flying in coach as well. Staying in a good hotel and only like 2 blocks away from the convention center. So
which is key down there. I mean, you want to be close by.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And then and basically I'm going to fly you in Friday, whatever time, depending on what time you are able to get out here. Then you've got whatever of the first day to kind of just walk around CEDIA. I'll probably just let you kind of run on your own as I'm working on a few things. And then at 5 o'clock, when the show floor shuts down, you're going to be escorted over to Sound Room 4, along with people like Todd, who says he'll be there at 5:15. So
I'll be there. Well, hopefully 5, but
I know. Well, everybody's always trying to finish up those last bits of content, so I totally get that.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
And so, like I said, everybody will start showing up between 5 and 5:30. Really, I've kind of said, try to be there before 5:30.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go in Sound Room 4, which at this point is like $1 million theater.
Yeah.
And so continues to grow as they often do. There are 12 seats in there. Nobody else is in there. No manufacturers, no salespeople, no nothing else. Like This is just agnostic content on what we want to kind of talk about and show some cool stuff. And for one lucky winner, you're going to be in there with 10 of your favorite content creators listening to $1 million system and playing whatever clips you want in addition to whatever clips everybody else wants, talking about everything else. We'll be in there till at least 8 o'clock. We'll go to dinner. Anybody that wants to, because people are busy and working or creating, editing content for next day and all that kind of stuff. So anybody that's out there is welcome to, in our group is welcome to go.
Awesome.
And then Saturday morning, I'm going to take you around to all the other cool booths. Like I said, this isn't like just SR4. This is, whatever we want to see. So I'll take you by the Trinov booth. I'll take you by JVC and Grimani are doing a booth that's, a little bit smaller in scale, which I think is great because it's, more realistic. We'll go by the Origin booth. We'll go by, there's so much cool technology out there. If there's a brand that you like specifically, that you're the fanboy of, then I will take you over there and, get you to meet whoever the top people are that happen to be in the booth. But I will make all of that stuff happen. That's where I'm fortunate in 25 years in the industry to know all those people and be able to, kind of introduce and call in favors. And I wanted to be able to share that with somebody, and hopefully next year.
So generous of you.
Thank you very much.
It's
a fun way to give back and to all the, all the people that are watch. I mean, this is one of the few industries. It is niche, but it's passionate and it's one of the things, these guys are watching hours of content a week trying to, learn stuff or build into the community, to chatting with the groups. And I love it. That's why I love coming on to everybody's shows. And, I'm always happy to do that, to talk about whatever. And so this is a way to kind of give back for it, and I want more than anything, I want it to be one of us in the community, the greater community of all this to win.
Yeah.
I didn't
100%.
I didn't want to promote this out to like tens of thousands of people where, it's going to be somebody who doesn't know CEDIA, doesn't care, doesn't, just wants a free trip to Denver.
Right.
I wanted to be here. So I'm not pushing advertising or paid advertising or anything on this. I'm literally just the content creators that are coming into the show are the ones that are basically pushing this out. I'm pushing it out on my channel. And, and that means your chances are better. As of yesterday, we only had 100, which is actually a good number when you look at it for this, but we had 198 people that had registered, right?
Awesome.
Individual people.
Good odds.
Well, that's my thinking on this, right? Usually these types of contests would be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. Here's your 1,000,000 to 1 shot of winning this. No, basically, if you do that, you do some of the extra tasks, you got a 1 in 200 shot. That's pretty good. And if you do the extra tasks, it'll probably even be better than that. So, so real simple. If we run in, I can share a screen, or I don't know if you have one on there, Todd. I can. I got it here. Don't worry about it. I just wasn't sure if you had something pulled right there. So
let's see, Kevin, here. Just while you're doing that, Kevin, look, I mean, there's no shame in owning NAD and Emotiva. It's all about setup, my man. I'm telling you, you guys out there, I mean, a lot of these big names, it seems like, oh my gosh, well, that's the only way that I can really, truly experience home theater. It's not. No. I mean, that's the, they're definitely high-end luxury brands. They put on a great show, but you can have an absolutely amazing home theater experience on, mid-level gear, budget gear. It all depends on how you set it up, and you learn how to set it up by hanging out at AV Nirvana's forum or watching FAQNatics on YouTube. The point of this, though, is just like Brett was saying, you can go check out what Trinov has to offer. And I really suggest that people just go and experience it, just for the fact of marveling at how far these technologies have come. And there's going to be trickle down from that. I guarantee it. We just had Arnaud Labrie from Trinov on the other day. I asked him, are you going to eventually license waveforming? Said not in the immediate future, but that's a possibility. So someday that kind of technology will become available. at much more affordable price points, and it's going to be a great day when it does happen. But just being able to go and experience it on literally, Brett, I mean, I don't think you would argue, one of a kind systems. I mean, so few people have
Yeah,
systems like these.
Yep. And I
So
think that's the piece in there. And hopefully, you know, I've always said the same exact thing that you are, Todd. If you're happy with your system as you're starting out, you know, I started out with a $400 open box Sony processor for my first 5.1, right?
yep.
You know, and that's actually what got me my job at Good Guys. I was in there shopping for an AV receiver. And so no, we've all started where we are and this and that. And look, I can't afford a Christie projector either. You know, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to see one properly set up, right? You know, I always associate it with cars. You know, you drive what you drive, and I do some tracks, so we'll you know, maybe I'm not the best to make this distinction on there. But I own and my daughter has a you know, a little Chevy Bolt, right? And so that's the discussion point on that. And I actually love driving that car. You know, that Bolt is actually really, really cool. And I love the tech and all the stuff that's in there. And, you know, frankly, it's far less expensive than my 911 Turbo that I track. You know, but even there, I bought that. It's a 2014 and I bought it like 2 years ago, right? I mean, so it's, you know, I bought an older car to be able to afford it, just like there's great used gear that's out there in the different forums.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, just projectors alone. So many people get caught up with the latest JVC. You can go out there and score
an
amazing JVC on the used market.
Yeah.
And blow up your home theater room with it.
So you know, don't hate on the people that spend a lot on these things, because they're the ones who keep it for a year and then sell it. Car guys do the same thing, and that gives you a good deal if you're willing to pick it up a couple years old, you know. So but yeah, you know, hopefully in something like this, like I said, this isn't when I do my trainings and stuff, like I said, that's why I want to do a best, better, good. I want to be able to show like, hey, here is the class leading of what you could get.
Sure.
But here's two other versions and levels that are, here's the best of what you can get at this price band, right? And so I want to be able to show that. That's important to me. But when you're at a show like this, the reality is you get to see some killer stuff that like nobody ever gets to see and play with, you know? So, yeah, it's $1 million theater. I will never own $1 million theater. But I can definitely appreciate being in one for a couple hours.
Yep.
And so that's really the fun of it. And hopefully it's that aspirational look of, you know, what I can, you know, kind of see what's out there and how all that works. So, this is my, FAQNatics YouTube homepage, you guys. So if you go on here, there's obviously a bunch of different content. And like I said, we have some lighting control. If you're, like I said, if you're looking at any lighting for a house, this is kind of what got me started in the contest piece. I did this review on the B&W PX7 S2E, which I helped design the PX7 S2. And so I wanted to check them out. I did that, ended up giving away a pair or two pairs. I gave one pair away at M-Wave to Taylor, and he won that. And then I ran this kind of a similar contest. And then Tim Miller won these. So like I said, it was a great contest and it worked, and the engagement was high. People loved it. They were commenting all the time. And so then that's where this one came in. So like I said, you know, top left on here, if you go onto the main page, it's the video that pops up automatically.
And I'll make sure it's linked in the video once this
tremendous. And I know I owe you some graphics on that. I will get those to you as soon as we finish up here, Todd. I just got a little tied up.
No problem.
But basically, you click on this. There's a QR code, you know, that's in there, so you can just use a QR code. There's a link in the bottom of it, and it takes you right to this, right to the registration page. It takes 2 minutes, if that. It's not even really that. You can register in less than a minute. All I ask for is a name and an email, so that obviously I can reach out to you if you do win. I don't ask for address. I don't ask for anything else. I'm the only one who gets it. I don't share anybody's data with not the other brands, not even the other, you know, influencers. Everything just kind of sits. I don't spam. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's part of why I want to come on here is, you know, we all see these contests and you're like, oh God, what, you know, my phone's going to start ringing off the hook and all this and that. I promise you, none of that stuff happens. This is just a a great way for me to be able to give back, to build my community, because my community is a lot smaller. I've always been kind of like Todd said, I'm the guy behind the scenes for the last 25 years a lot of times, helping other people to build their content, or hopping on the show as an SME, kind of an expert. So, which I still want to do. I don't want to overtake that. What guys like Todd and Michael and everybody and Giles and them do is tremendous, and everybody has their own kind of way. I didn't want to duplicate that. And so that's where really this channel is specifically about education on a topic. Like I said, you'll see a few reviews, but generally just stuff that I've bought, right? I don't want to get random stuff coming in for what I'm doing. And then I'm going to teach you how to program an REW, how to, what do you need to do when you're building a home theater room? Things that I can do. And when I need help on a question, I go directly to the top engineering experts in the world, to get that question answered. And that's what's kind of cool and different about what I do. And frankly, complementary to everybody else. So, so like I said, definitely hit it up. It started last week on the 14th. So, and it only runs till the 28th, because I have to buy somebody's flight.
I know.
So unfortunately, I'm going to be booking flights 4 days before CEDIA starts. So I'm sure I'm going to be paying a little bit more for that. That's why you're not flying first class, but you are getting out there. And so, like I said, I love the opportunity to do this. I guarantee you this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
While we'll probably have 800-900 people go through Sound Room 4 in 12-minute increments of very specific demos that are in there. There will literally be 12 people in the world that get to enjoy this room for 3 hours. Not even the employees of these companies get to do that. For 12 of us, 10 of them are going to be, kind of influencers and content creators, myself, and then one lucky other person. So this really is, in my mind, it would be for me. It is for me, frankly, even though I put it together, like this is a bucket list thing to be able to do.
Agree 1,000% on that.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm super excited about it. I appreciate just the support and everything else. So please jump onto the YouTube FAQNatics page. Check out that link. Like I said, it's dead simple to be able to do. There's some extra cool things that you can do by subscribing to other people's pages or watching a video, or doing just some other ways to engage in the community, and you get some extra entries in for doing that. So, definitely do a little bit of that too. It only takes a couple minutes. That's how Tim Miller, who won the headphones, he's like, no, I did them all. He's like, I did them all. He goes, if it took me 5 minutes, that was longer than it took, right? And so like I said, I think it's a great way in there. All your content is, and information safe. I would never do that, because this is my community. These are the people that, I love chatting with. And it's going to be a blast of a time. And I know only one person can win this year. But the more engagement I get, the more people that I get to be able to do this, the next year I want to be able to plan this out. And we've even talked about doing a home theater crawl. So, kind of modifying onto the pub crawl and getting a few people, because even this year, so Sound Room 3, Sound Room 4, which I'm in, and Sound Room 7 all have a lot of shared components to them.
Right.
So I think they all have Seymour screens, and
Storm too, right?
And some have Barcode, some have Lumagen, some have Mad VR. Some have Storm, or all of them have Storm. I don't know. But, like I said, but as I've been in some of these groups and we're all talking, they're all very heavily related, right?
Yes.
And so they're all right next to each other. Like, part of me wants to be able to just say, hey, then we're going to move right next door to Sound Room 3, so that you could see what Mad VR on the same projector, this or that, looks like, or one version down of a Christie, or what have you, right? And so, we may look at that, but but for the most part, that has to be planned out a little deeper.
Yeah.
And so, but I'd love to do something like that next year, right? Or call up the guys at Trinov and say, hey, because they're, really it's this Sound Room 4 and the Trinov booth are probably the two biggest, best sounding, best looking booths that are out there, in all reality. Full respect to everybody else, but these are the ones that have gotten all the awards last year, the best of show, the best of all that kind of stuff. So like I said, you're gonna get to play in there for a while, but I'm gonna show you the other ones, and like I said, next year I'd love to be able to send 2 or 3 people.
Awesome.
I think it would be great. as well as some additional content creators, because I was apologizing, even like Don Hensley, he was good enough to promote it, but he doesn't get to go. So
Well,
I'm like, keep growing that subscriber list, but it's and I don't just pick the biggest subscribers, like not at all, but it's one of those where like, yeah, they were there last year. He didn't have a show last year. His show is new. He does some great stuff, but I'm like, yeah, if I could have 3 or 4 rooms going, then I could actually rotate people all the way around, so you could have more people enjoy it. I think it would be great for the industry. I think it would be great for people.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I know I could actually get some outside funding, from some of these guys to, make sure I could get, 2 or 3 people, who knows, to be able to come and enjoy it as well. So
Awesome.
like I said, big, that's my hope for this year. Like I said, a few views isn't going to make me any money, but I do appreciate them. But really the idea is, blowing this up so that I can do more stuff like this next year. And hopefully I'm on here with you chatting about how much bigger this is, and how many more people are coming in, and how last year somebody from AV Nirvana won that trip, and wasn't it amazing?
Well, I've shared it on our social channels. I'm really hoping someone from the AV Nirvana community, or possibly the DC Audiophiles community Facebook group that I've shared this in, one of my Twitter followers, one of our Instagram followers wins this, because I would love to, meet them in that environment. Oh, wait, we've got a question for you. What is the secret code word for the...
Well, the secret code word, Mike. So we'll be adding a bunch of these, and I'm going to actually be adding more links for more entries like this weekend and in the next couple days. But we're going to make one up right now. So you might want to wait 20 minutes to make sure I get it put into the system. But it is going to be, we'll make it one word so nobody has any issues with spacing or capitalizations. Let's call it Nirvana. So
awesome.
We've got Nirvana is your secret word, Mike. I'm going to ask you to, like I said, I'll put it in right after we finish this, but give it an hour. And if you use Nirvana as a word, that will get you a secret code word entry. So thanks for asking that, Mike.
Yep.
We will, like I said, that's kind of the fun of it, right? So, is being able to go on here, do that kind of stuff. You'll see some of the other pages that are on there, the Giles and the Youthmans and all those guys. And I'm going to try to get them some secret words, throughout here as well, so that, the more you engage with the community, the more shots you got at it. And don't forget, Mike's asking in there. So there is a refer a friend, and I've been watching people in the groups do this. So if you refer a friend and they subscribe, right, so they register. So if you refer a friend, let's say Todd's not in this, I send the code. It's got my personal little code in there. So when Todd registers and he uses that link with the code, not only does Todd now get to enter, but you actually get extra entries as well. So I've had quite a few people there that, we all have friends in this industry and this, and that, and so they're sending it out rather than waiting for that person to see it on AV Nirvana. They're like, nah.
Yeah, I want that extra entry.
Register and use this code. And however many people you enter, you get those extra points. So I've watched quite a few people, and I think there's like 3 points on there for that one. So,
wow.
As we look at it, it's a great way to add some extra points, get your friends in there. And I didn't want it to just be like, oh, well, if I invite somebody else, now they might pull my prize. I actually did it really cool for the headphone one. If you referred a friend and that person won a pair of headphones, the person that referred them got a pair of headphones as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
oh,
I actually bought an extra pair just so I could, run that. So because then there's no excuse, right? There's no like, well, yeah, I don't want my friend to win instead of me. Now, in this one, I couldn't add another trip because money's tight. We're getting closer to the holidays and all such things. But
are there any restrictions on this contest in terms of regional?
So I'm trying to make it US only, and I'm going to be honest with everybody. A flight from Europe to Denver is a lot more expensive than say New York, right? So I wasn't going to make it regional or any. It's like, hey, you're in Florida, you're in New York, you're whatever. I'll make it happen. But for this contest this time, it is US based. In theory, you have to be 18 because you got to be an adult to fly out, I guess.
Yep.
But like I said, if you register, then we'll figure all that stuff out. But I trying to get permission slips from parents so that your kid could go just seems a little over the top.
Little Johnny, the 9-year-old, that would be a weekend for you, and I guarantee you would never forget it, Brett.
That's right. But if you are 9 or 10 and you register for this and you say you're 18, when you win, give it to your parents, give it to your dad, and that's going to get you out of some trouble. That'll give you get out of jail free card with some stuff. So there's definitely ways to be able to do that to grab some entries in there. But yeah, for the most part, it's just it's open. I want everybody to go in there. I just want it to be somebody that appreciates that's in the community that appreciates it. So that's the only thing I'm trying to do. I appreciate if any of you guys send, put it out to your Facebook friends and this and that. But do realize, like I said, if you're super deep, but they're not, lovers of this stuff, I'll be happy to do it, but I would hate to bring somebody in.
I
who really doesn't know, doesn't care. And take a prize away from somebody here that would really, really enjoy it. So like I said, definitely invite your friends, but try to make sure that they're probably somebody in the community.
Awesome.
And that's it. It only runs through the 28th.
Okay.
So again, it's the 23rd now. That's next Wednesday. So you have plenty of time, but you don't have a lot of time, right? So especially if you want some of those extra entries. And then check back. I'll post a few things, so everybody that's registered, you'll know when I post in some new ways to enter. But as things come up, like the Nirvana entry that we just created right now, like I said, we'll open those up. So just because you registered doesn't mean there's not maybe some new opportunities to further improve your chances over the next couple of days.
Sure. Awesome. Well, we in good style, Brett, we've run way over our 30-minute allotment, but I've loved chatting with you, and hopefully a lot of people will be able to catch up with this over the next few days.
I
will be on YouTube.
I appreciate the time as always on there, Todd. I appreciate everybody else's time, and whether you're watching this on the live or on a replay with it, definitely subscribe. Take a few minutes. I think you're gonna put it up on your homepage as well. Todd.
There is something up there right now, but
but it's like I said, it's dead simple to enter. It's all legit. You're gonna get a great prize. You get to hang out with me a little bit. You get to hang out with people like Todd, and you get to see some of the coolest stuff that's out there, as well as your favorite brands. Emotiva will be there. So like I said, it's you're definitely gonna be able to see whatever your favorite brands are. And if you're an Emotiva lover, I will make sure that we go by there and that you got somebody from their company that's going to shake your hand and say hi. So like I said, this will be tremendous. You'll absolutely love it. So make sure you register today.
Awesome. I can't wait to see who wins, and
me too.
Look forward to hanging out with them.
Absolutely.
All right, Brett. Well, I will see you in Denver.
Absolutely.
And everyone else out there, we have another AV Nirvana live on the 27th. We have Storm Audio coming on, along with maybe a couple other brands that probably are going to be in that booth.
Yes.
In Sound Room 4, I should say. Not
booth, I would say if Storm's, everybody's dividing up and all, but you have Gary coming on, or who's coming on?
Yeah, Gary Blouse from Storm Audio is definitely coming on, and he the other day said, hey, do you mind if we maybe have somebody else come on? And I'm leaving it up to him. So we're definitely going to be talking about Storm, though, and I will get the timeout on that. I think actually I do know it. It's 5:00 Eastern on the 27th. So I'll get that out there on our social channels so everybody knows.
Kicking off the CEDIA buzz just before we all start leaving for CEDIA.
That was the plan.
I love it. Like I said, I may 27th. I may have to jump on there for the last minute people, right? You got 1 day left.
Please do.
Gary said, come to the show.
That's right. Awesome, Brett. All right. Well, I hope you have a great day, and everyone out there, you do the same, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Bye, you guys.
Okay. All right. Bye.
If you enjoy content like this, hit like,